So I want to read to you the first 13 verses of Revelation chapter 14, the Apocalypse of John. And I looked, and lo, a Lamb stood on the Mount Sion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung, as it were, a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb, whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the firstfruits unto God and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel, to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation, and kindred, and tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God, and give him glory. For the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him that made heaven, and earth, and the sea, and the fountains of waters. And there followed another angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever. And they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. So I said first 13 verses, but it's first 12. Okay, that's where it ends. So what I want to focus on are a couple things. First off, the 144,000. And you have speculations all over the place about who these people are. Well, first off, they are men. Okay, I verified that in the Greek. I thought perhaps that they were not defiled and they had come from among women, because it's meta, it's the midst of women. But when I looked, the noun is actually masculine, plural masculine, so they are men, actually. But it says specifically who they are. I don't know why this is such a troublesome passage for people. It says exactly, in detail, who they are. So why should you speculate anything different than this? Oh, they're Jews. Oh, they're Jews saved in the end time, in the tribulation. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. In fact, in the flow of things here in this passage, all the stuff about the beast comes much later than this. So if you want to speculate, then this comes before the gospel. You'd have to say it's from the Old Testament. And some people do. They say, oh, these, the Jews that were saved in the Old Testament, what, only 144,000 before Jesus came? I don't believe that. Okay, so let's look exactly at what it says. besides the timing of the flow of this passage, let's look at what it actually says. Okay? It says that the Lamb, who is the Lamb? Jesus. But it says, a lamb stood on the Mount Sion, and with him 144,000. So they were standing on Mount Zion with the Lamb, with Jesus, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. So his Father's name indicates it's Jesus also. So they have the name, not of Jesus, they have the name of Jesus' Father written in their foreheads. Now, if you've seen my teachings on the mark of the beast, especially quite some time ago, then you'll see I repeatedly refer to the placement of the mark of the beast in the hand or in the forehead. Those represent two specific things. So, for example, if you go back to the Shema Israel in Deuteronomy 6, 4 through 6, and you find that God says, tie these to your hand and bind them to your forehead, the words that he speaks this day. And what that meant was the forehead was about how you perceive things. How you perceive things when you look out on the world, when you consider things. How do you perceive them? What's your worldview? It's not a perfect word, but okay, worldview. How do you perceive things? What are you using to filter to understand the world? This is, without doubt, and everyone understands it very easily, is actions. This is your actions. That's what the hand represents in the Bible. So the hand is actions. This is your actions, the core of your actions. This is the core of your hand. This is the core of your actions. This is the centerpiece of how you perceive the world. And so when it says that the Father's name is written on their foreheads, that means that the way that they perceive the world is through the Father's eyes. Verse 2, and I heard a voice from heaven. So first he sees this, then he hears a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers, harping with their harps. So he heard the voice of harpers, harping with their harps. And they sung, as it were, a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders. No man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. Who are the harpers? If you say the 144,000, you'd be wrong. That's what it looks like. It says, and they, the harpers, sung as it were a new song before the throne. But the 144,000 are not before the throne. They're on Mount Sion. And before the four beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song. So, except the 144,000. So the 144,000 don't know the song yet. Okay? But they alone can learn the song. The song is coming from harpists with the voice of many waters, which means like innumerable voices. And with the voice of thunder, which means like authoritative. And no man could learn the song except the 144,000. Which were redeemed from the earth. They were redeemed from the earth. So does that mean they're Christians? They were redeemed from the earth. Only 144,000. Not only 144,000 will be redeemed from the earth. All these qualifications are indicating who the 144,000 are. These are they which were not defiled with women. Let me check that word up, defiled. Blackened. It's literally blackened. Moluno, which comes from melos. Melos means black, like melanoma. That comes from melos, which means black, and so blackening. And this is to make black. Okay. You could say to soil. Okay, so these are they which were not made black with women, were not soiled with women. For they are virgins. So these 144,000 are virgins. You say, well, not literal virgins. Yes, literal virgins. It says they are virgins. Why would you think it's something different? It says they are virgins. There's no reason to take it as a metaphor here. It's very specific. There's no indication there's a metaphor going on. These are they which were not defiled with women. They were not made blackened or soiled by women. For they are virgins. 144,000 men, virgin men. 144,000 virgin men with their perspectives, that of the Father's perspective. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. So you remember Mary had a little lamb and the lamb followed Mary everywhere she went, right? Well, these men follow the lamb, the lambkin. That's what that word means, not lamb. Lambkin, like small lamb, little lamb. That's literally what it is. These men followed the little lamb wherever he went. And he was on Mount Zion, so they were on Mount Zion. These were redeemed from among men. There it is again. It says they were redeemed from the earth. This says they were redeemed from among men. The firstfruits unto God and to the Lamb. That's interesting. And in their mouth was found no guile. So these men were from among the firstfruits unto God and to the Lamb. The Lamb's Jesus. And so they were the firstfruits from out of Jesus' ministry. That's how it reads. The firstfruits. So they were from that beginning. Perhaps when Jesus was on the earth, they were from among those that he preached to that were saved from his ministry. For it says, the firstfruits unto God and to the Lamb. Firstfruits. Not in the tribulation. The tribulation of the last fruits, not the firstfruits. And in their mouth was found no guile. So these are those who came out of Jesus' ministry, were saved from Jesus' ministry on the earth as firstfruits, like the apostles, disciples were. And they were virgins. So not everyone who was saved from Jesus' ministry is in this group, but those who were virgins, male virgins, and who had no guile in their mouth, none. No guile in their mouth. So it wasn't just all virgins. It was the ones who had no guile in their mouth. Now we're narrowing it down even more. Okay? And this word is one moment. Okay, so yeah, they were without pseudos, falsehood. So yeah, without falsehood. There was nothing false in what came from their mouth. And they were blameless. And in their mouth was found no guile. And in their mouth, it literally says in their mouth, and in their mouth was found no falsehood. For they are without fault before the throne of God. So those first 5 verses describe this group of men. Now, it may not be just from Jesus' ministry. Maybe not, I don't know. But it sounds like it was firstfruits. So I would tend to say these are those who came out of Jesus' ministry, or maybe Jesus' ministry and from the apostles themselves. But definitely it reads as if it's in that period of time. And if it's in the tribulation, how can it be firstfruits? That's at the end. It's not first. Okay? But it focuses down on a very narrow group of people. Very narrow. But we're not to take it metaphorically. The only thing that's metaphorical is about the placement of the name of God. And that's because that is hearkening back to the Shema Israel, where God said to put his words. And so we already know about that. It's not literally the writing on the forehead. Now, it may also be that, but it's not primarily that. All right, so we got those first 5 verses. Now, the other thing I want to draw attention to is the gospel. It says, and I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach. That means that this gospel message will not disappear. It will not be irrelevant. It will not go away. It says everlasting. Let's have a look at that and just make sure that that is what it means in the Greek. And all right, this is that word again, aged. It's the adjective of age. And they keep translating this as if it means perpetual, but it means aged. So it reads differently in the Greek. It says, and I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the aged gospel. The gospel of the age. Not aged like old, aged like of the age. To preach unto them that dwell on the earth. So it's the opposite of what it sounds like. It's not the everlasting gospel, it's the gospel of the age. To preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people. Saying with a loud voice. So now we're going to hear the gospel. If you want to know what the gospel message is, here's the gospel message. It's what it says. It says, I saw another angel having the everlasting gospel to preach to all these people, saying with a loud voice, preaching it. Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. 4 things. Fear, give glory, acknowledge judgment is here, and worship him. Verse 8, and there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all the nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. It's very interesting that it's only about fornication here. Babylon did not lead them to other things, but fornication in particular. Now, it's possible fornication could be an indication of a spiritual infidelity. It could be something like that. But definitely it means fornication at least. At least literally fornication. So now it's possible that, let's read on. Verse 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. I want to draw attention to this, to something people do not talk about. Every sermon that you ever hear about this, they avoid talking about this. And that's because they preach other sermons that contradict this. So if they then drew attention to this, it would then show that they have not been preaching properly. We're told that when people are put into the lake of burning sulfur, it's a place, the state that they're in is primarily the state of being deprived of the presence of God and his light and his glory, etc., etc. And they'll go into all these details about this. But this contradicts them. This calls them liars. For it says, in the presence of the terrifyingly clean messengers, holy angels, and in the presence of the lambkin. We know Jesus is the Lamb because we've already seen that. And we know Jesus is God because it says so in John 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. There it is. That's enough right there. So God's presence is definitely there where they're being punished in the lake of burning sulfur. Not only in the form of his holy angels. In the Old Testament you find that the holy angels from God also bring his presence, even so concentrated that sometimes the passage starts talking about the angels as if the angel is the Lord. So it says the angel of the Lord, but then it starts talking about the Lord in place of the angel. So that's how strong the presence of God is with the holy angels. So even just because of the holy angels being present, the presence of God is there. But even more so because the Son of God, as the Lamb of God, is present at their torment. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Right? So understand that the presence of God there doesn't comfort them. It's part of their torment. The messengers of God who spoke messages constantly. Warning, 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 warning. And they didn't heed the warnings. They went full on with their pride against God. And here is the lambkin who died for their sins. And they rejected him. And kept rejecting him. And every warning that came, they still rejected the lambkin. And here's the lambkin shining his light at them. And they're tormented because now they have no possibility of accepting him. and they are just full of guilt. Verse 12, here is the patience of the saints, the terrifyingly clean ones, those of us who stop sinning. Here is the patience of the terrifyingly clean ones. That's what it literally means, saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. What does it mean to believe in Jesus? This says what it means to believe in Jesus. It's not only to have internal agreement about who Jesus is, for even the demons believed and shivered. And Jacob, aka James, when he wrote that, he's referring back to the Gospel of Mark. Because in the encounters with the demons, when Jesus was there, they cried out and called him the Holy One of God. What do you have to do with us? They knew who he was, and they confessed who he was with their mouths. And they believed in their hearts who he was. They had no doubt, but they were not saved because they couldn't do. They couldn't do. That's why they were shivering. Even the demons believe in God and shiver. And Jacob is trying to convict the Christians that if you don't have actions, you will not be saved. Because even the demons are doing what you are saying is the bare minimum required for salvation, which isn't enough. And it says here, here's the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. The faith of Jesus requires you keep the commandments of God. It does. Otherwise, you're not terrifyingly clean. May the Lord bless you as you seek him with all your heart.